evening, my loves, and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Mommy J. And we continue with our series here, The Day My Butt Went Psycho, based on a true story by Andy Griffiths. And we are finally on chapter 2. All right, and this chapter is titled The Butt Hunter's Daughter. Zach couldn't see a single butt anywhere as he left the stadium, but he could see where they'd been. There were skid marks everywhere. Splintered, broken, smoking trees, smashed house windows, the roads pockmarketed with more craters and blast holes than the surface of the moon. Cars lying on their sides or completely overturned, obviously shaken by some powerful blast. And everywhere, permeating everything, the air was warm and thick with the stench of rotten egg gas. Breathing was almost impossible. Zach reached down to the belt, took out one of the clothespins, and put it on his nose. It provided instant relief. He was glad that the butt catcher had insisted he take the belt. As he crossed a large intersection on the outskirts of town, he noticed a droning noise. Zach couldn't identify it, but it was getting louder. It seemed to be coming from overhead. He looked up. The sky was streaked with light. Dawn was not far away. And then he saw them, flying butts, a whole squadron, headed straight toward him. The noise was deafening, and the smell was so intense that Zach almost passed out. He ran down a hill to hide under some trees beside a small creek, but it was too late. They'd seen him. As Zach ran, he looked over his shoulder. A butt broke away from the pack and began to zoom toward him. It was not a pretty sight. It was huge and coming in fast. Zach fell to the ground and put his hands over his head, just in time. The butt swooped down over top of him, brushing the back of his hands. Zach lifted his head to see the butt shoot up into the sky, turn, and start hurtling toward him, even faster this time. Zach gulped. This was just like the exam he failed the last time he tried out for the Junior Butt Fighters League. Except worse. The butt that had gassed him there was slow-moving and clumsy. This butt was bigger and meaner and meant business. Real business. Zach became aware of a sharp pain in his side. It was the tennis racket handle. He pushed himself up onto one elbow, reached down, and pulled the racket out of the belt. If he was going to die, he at least wanted to die in comfort. Then Zach noticed a strange thing. As he produced the tennis racket from underneath him, the color drained from the butt, leaving it a deathly white. Instinctively, Zach realized that the butt was scared. It was scared of the racket. Zach gripped the handle tightly, and a daring idea formed in his mind. He could hit it. It was worth a try. After all, what did he have to lose? He figured he was about to die anyway. Zach rolled over, sat up, and hid the racket behind his back. He waited until the butt was almost on top of him, and then he let fly. Thwack! The butt went hurtling off his racket and into the back of a parked car. Boom! The explosion was deafening, and the force of it knocked Zach over onto his back. Zach couldn't believe what he'd just done. He stood up to run, but two more butts, even larger than the first, broke away from the main group and sped toward him. Zach raised his tennis racket, ready to hit them. As they drew closer, however, one veered around to attack him from behind, while the other continued its assault from the front. Zach gulped and gulped again. One gulp for each butt. Those butts were smart, he thought. They knew he could hit only one at a time. But then Zach had another daring idea. He focused his eyes on the butt coming toward him. He could hear the evil drone of the other butt coming from behind. At the last possible moment, he ducked. The butts collided with a thunderous sonic boom. Zach was thrown face first onto the ground. But that wasn't the end of his problems, because now the rest of the squadron was headed toward him, and they weren't happy. Zach knew his tennis racket wouldn't be no use against that many butts. There must have been at least 50 of them spread across the sky, headed in at him from every direction. He didn't know a lot about butt fighting, but he knew enough to know what this meant. It was a cluster butt. Zach started running. He had to find cover or he was going to be obliterated. And then Zach saw it, an open storm drain. He ran toward it. He made it to the mouth of the enormous pipe when the butts collided. Wham! He felt the heat on his back, and the blast propelled him into the darkness of the dream. And we're going to stop right there for tonight, my dear loves. Make sure you guys brush your teeth, say your bedtime prayers, and I hope you guys have a beautiful night with many sweet dreams throughout the whole entire night. I love you much. Hugs and kisses. Mwah. Good night.